So let's make a start on our late lunch session. So welcome to the session. So this is part of our Lunch and Learn webinar series where we tell you about what is going on here at Compleat and how to get the most out of your iCompleat subscription. Today's session, we are going to cover some more advanced functions within the orders module. Some of you may already be aware of some of the features that I'm going to be going through, but hopefully there'll be something new in there for you. Today we're excited to introduce Pegasus as our Lunch and Learn sponsor. Pegasus is an award-winning provider of accounting, payroll and business software. Their aim is to build business tools that enable companies to run their operations every day effortlessly and profitably. By being part of the Compleat ecosystem, they enable businesses to make smarter buying decisions directly within our platform. So thank you ever so much to Pegasus. So we are going to be talking about the benefits, excuse me, within the ordering side of iCompleat, and I'll be showing you some of those functions in a little demo. We'll then have a quick look at the ecosystem, and then if there are any questions at all, we shall, or rather I shall certainly be happy to go through those. You'll notice at the top of the session window, hopefully you can see there's, you have got the chat, but there's also a Q&A section as well. If you could pop any questions into there, that would be fantastic. So just pop them in the Q&A section. This is me. Back in the days where I had more hair, but I'm an implementation consultant here at Compleat. Just usual logistics that we tend to run through on these sessions. Obviously, you can make sure microphones are all muted. I know you've got that done already, so thank you ever so much. As I said, any questions, pop into the Q&A box. And a copy of the recording will be made available and sent to you at the end of this session. So what we're going to be covering is as I said, a few little tips and tricks and some nice little additions that come along with the ordering side of the system. So going to be looking at things like default address configuration. We'll be looking at the manual address configuration, so the address book functionality. We're going to be looking at, as well as the address book, the ability to put in manual addresses as well. I joined those two together for some reason. We're then going to be looking at some cool features through the layouts. And I'm going to show you catalogs, which is a relatively new piece of functionality that has come out. So I'll show you how to set up a catalog and how to incorporate those into your ordering system. And we're going to look at the approval selectors side. Now, we did cover approval selectors in a recent Lunch and Learn session, but I thought for this it'd just be handy just to show in a real life, if you like, scenario, albeit in my test system. So let's move to my demo system and we'll have a look at some of these bits and pieces. So obviously I'm in my demo system, so you may or may not see the different functions depending on what permissions and access rights you have. We'll start off with the addresses, delivery addresses. So the first area I can show you is through the user profile, but just before we go there, just so that we've got it all in our minds as to what we're talking about, is when we go to create a requisition, it's this delivery field here, this deliver to. So this can be populated by the delivery addresses that are cached through from the finance platform if they've been set up and if it's a connector that is caching those through. Alternatively, it can come through from the address book or be done manually, all of which I'll be showing in a bit. But the first thing I want to show you is just setting it by default at a user level. And what I mean by that is the user that I've logged in as, so I've logged in as Abigail, and every time Abigail comes in to create an order, it automatically defaults to a particular address. So first thing, if we want to have a default address show through here, is if we come up to this icon here, so this little person in a circle, come up to there and click on the user's name. So this is set on a user basis. We'll notice down here there is a preferred delivery site. Excuse me. And by setting that delivery address in here, that will then ensure that every time this user goes to create a new requisition, it defaults to that address, like so. Now, those of you who have the Amazon punch out, for users who have been using it for the first time, you would have seen that it insists on having that default address set. So it may be that that's already configured, but if you were wondering where that's coming from, now you know. It's from the user's profile and this preferred delivery site here. Now, the other base for delivery addresses that I can show you is through the address book. And if I come back to the home screen, now this would be something, or rather a functionality that is restricted to just the admin users, because I'm going to be using this configuration tile to go into the configuration side. I then go to the ordering and matching element, and here you can see we have address book. And if I manage my address book, it brings us to this kind of online spreadsheet, and it's in here that we can create our new addresses that we want to have made available to our users when they're creating requisitions. So if I pop in just start of the address like so, click save, that has saved that address down. Now you can import addresses as well, and you have instructions down the right hand side here as to what information needs to go into which columns. You can see that we've got all the column headings sitting in here for all the information. And once I've put my address in, clicked on save, if I now go back to creating a requisition, you'll notice that I've now got my 76 Windmill Road address sitting in there as well. So that's default coming from the finance platform. That one's coming from an address book. The third way I can show you is to the ability to manually enter that address in. So if I come back to home into configuration, this one in particular is set through the layouts. So if I go to layout and then purchase orders, on the field configuration tab down at the bottom, I have got the ability to manually enter delivery site. Switch that on, click save on the layout, come back to home, back to create a new layout, and what we'll find is we've now got a little map button sitting here. So we can still choose delivery address, or alternatively we can click on here and we can free type our address in. Click save, and then this is the delivery address that will be used on the requisition, or rather on the purchase order. So that's the addresses side. Now, some of the other fancy bits and pieces that we have, oops, clicked on the wrong one there, sorry, apologies. Some of the other fancy bits and pieces we have is, again, still through the layouts where we just were. So I'll go back to my configuration and then to my layouts option, and then to my purchase order layout, back to configuration. So down here is obviously where I set the delivery site. We've got some other toys in here now. So we have show notes in transaction summary. So for those of you who are using notes, if I just come back, we've got, obviously from a grid view, we would have these indicators here to denote that there is a note, and we could hover over and see a summary of the last note, and we could click onto it and see all the notes that have been put against this transaction, and we can add our new notes down here like so, add an icon, etc. Choose a color for it, so on and so forth. What we can now do though is if I go into the requisition, once I've had that note option activated, that note will show down here. So let me just go and do that now. So again, very quick and simple, into layouts, purchase orders, field configuration, switch on that show notes, make sure I save the layout. And once that has been saved, if I now go back into that order that has a note added for me, you can see we've now got notes. Clicking on here, that will then expand the section down for me, and we can add our new notes, etc. from here. So this is brand new, just come out. If there are, or rather if there is anything that would help you with this, then please do let us know. Always keen to hear of things that make your lives easier. But hopefully this will be a welcome introduction, a welcome feature here to be able to see the notes more clearly. You can still get to them from actions and then notes into this notepad view here. The other thing I can show you is the including of analysis on the final order itself. So again, the new piece of functionality, if I was to come into a requisition, one of the things that was recently requested was the ability to have an analysis code show on this purchase order. So whether it be when the requisition is being created, you might be recording department or a location or a specific site or a specific account code. And what we can now do is include this on the order form itself. So if we wanted to do that, again, it's through the layouts where we've been for the last two areas. So configuration, layouts, and purchase orders. And if I go to field configuration again, you'll see we have down here the purchase order template analysis. And this is where we can choose which analysis we would like to have shown onto our order that goes out to the supplier. So if I wanted cost center, click on save layout. What that will mean is that whatever cost center I record against my order will be included in the order PDF as well. If I come back into here as well, the other thing I wanted to show you with regards to the order PDF was we've now got the ability to use multiple or have multiple PDFs in the system and assign them to specific order layout. So if you had an order layout, for example, that was purely for a specific location or a specific site or specific order type, then you can also have a dedicated purchase order template, the PDF assigned to that as well. If you wanted to create multiple PDFs, what you'd need to do is from the configuration side, just go to the ordering and matching and then PO templates up at the top. And you can see here, I've got two or rather three PDF templates sitting in here, and add a new one. We can give it a name, go through, set any specific information that we are looking for to have on that particular PDF, and then it'd just be a case of going to the order layout and attaching that specific PDF layout to the order layout. So what that would mean, every time this layout's used to create an order, it would use the that specific order PDF for us. So the other little trick that you can do is, again, if I just go back to a regular creating an order screen, I'm going to create a requisition for Teco Drive. It's brought up my default delivery site, and I've got the option here to add lines. Now what we can do is we can set it so that users are restricted to certain ranges of, say, locations or account codes. We can also set it so that every time Teco Drive is used, they're one of our fictitious IT providers, we could say that the account code is always set to IT, for example. So there's two different functions within the system that would facilitate that. We can use the security through the layouts to restrict the range of locations and departments that are available. And then what we could do is use our supply default to preset the account code for me. So let's go and look at the security quickly first. And again, we've gone through this in more detail in a previous Lunch and Learn session, but I dare say we'll be revisiting it again in the future. We haven't done security for a while. So if I come into the configuration side, into the layouts, go to my purchase orders, and settings group, or groups is the area that I'm looking for. I've got 3 groups that have been created. If I wanted to go into one of them, I could add users to a specific group. Now you can only have a user, a member of one group at a time. But if I say Abigail is in this group, it'll warn me to say Abigail's already in another group. I'm going to say, yes, I'm happy for that user to be moved into this group. And let's say on location, I could set a default value here, or alternatively, I could restrict to say that Abigail can only see location 1 and 2 and can only see department 2 and 3. If I save that, that's restricting what this particular user can see. So that's how to restrict data on a user basis through the security groups in the layout. If I was to go back to create an order, and if I just pop in the information like so to add a new line, what we'll find is, because I'm logged in as Abigail, I've now only got location 1 and 2. I'm not seeing location 3 and 4, and I've only got department. I obviously didn't save that properly. Was expecting only department 2 and 3, so obviously I just need to go and revisit that security group. But that's how we would restrict data access on a user level. If we wanted to deal with this account code, so every time Teco Drive is selected, our account code is already preset to, or is automatically set to IT. What we can do is we can use our supply defaults for that. So if I come back to the home screen, it's this tile here that we are looking to access. Now this tile is only available to administrators and AP operators, but if I go into this tile, it's simply a case of find my supplier, and then through the supplier default, I can then preset my account code. I can also preset anything else that I want to use as well. This will also carry through onto the invoicing side. So it's the defaults for orders and invoices. But if I save the account code there and let that update itself, if I then go back to create an order, and it's say it's for Teco Drive, and add a line, what we'll find is that account code has already been set to IT. Location restricted to just location 1 and 2, and then obviously department. We know that that went a little bit wonky because I didn't click the right buttons. But hopefully that kind of helps with some ideas on how to streamline the process for the user and help the users when they are creating requisitions. The last 2 that I can show you is the catalogs and the approval selectors. So we'll start with catalogs first. Now, with the catalog, it's the ability to create a predefined list with coding and analysis in the background that's then available for the users to use when they're creating a requisition. To access it, where I've been clicking on this add line button, if I click on the drop down arrow, you can see I've got add catalog lines. And if I click onto there, you can see it's brought me to my IT equipment catalog. Now, the catalog function is on a supplier basis. So what I'll show you in a moment is I've already got a catalog created for Teco Drive computers in the background, and in there I have these items that have been preset, and we're able to set pricing and any analysis that's required. Obviously in this example that I'm showing you, department and location could be changing depending on who it's being ordered for. So I haven't set any defaults for there, but I have set a default for the account code. So if I said I wanted to order monitor, keyboard and mouse, click on those two, click on add, and it'll automatically bring those lines along with the VAT rates that I've preset and the ID coding in there. So we're getting the ID coding either from supplier defaults or from the catalog in the background. Now, if you wanted to set up a catalog, all you need to do, excuse me, is if we go back to the home screen, we have, again, from configuration. So a lot of this is all admin based setup. We've got this function here for catalogs. If I click onto catalogs, you see I've got two catalogs sitting in here. So here's my Teco drive for IT equipment. Click into there, and you can see this is where I have built my catalog. We've got obviously the name, the supplier that it's for, description, and then our items like so. I can review any existing items just by clicking on the line, and you can see it's giving us the option to preset item code, description, quantity, unit cost, cap code, cost center, and then any other analysis that's required. We can obviously go through and remove items. We can edit anything in there, and we can add new like so. And alternatively, what we could do is import. So, and we've also got an export as well. So by clicking on the downward arrow, there's an export or import. And if we go to import, we've got our click here to download a template. What it also allows us to do when we're importing is clear existing items. So we can completely wipe everything that's there and start afresh with a brand new file. But obviously there's our template. It's just be a case of populate the spreadsheet, saving it, and then uploading it. Catalog will be available to all the users. So as I said, that's a relatively new piece of functionality that is available within the system, and that's there ready to go now. The final one I wanted to show you was just in the throes, or rather on the theme of streamlining processes for users. So if I go into this example requisition that I've got here, what excuse me, what many of you may have is you may have a situation where you've got your submit button, which is where you would submit the transaction to a workflow to go out for approval to anyone who needs to, based on obviously coding, etc., or values. And you may have the situation whereby the user has to choose a particular workflow for the transaction to go to. What we can do is obviously we can either review all the workflows as a whole and try and bring them or to combine them all into one super workflow, or alternatively we've got a new piece of functionality called Selectors, and what that will do is it will change the system so there's just the one button, and whether it's going to go to trucks, regular, medical or fast track, that's a decision that the system can make for us. So for example, let's say it's based on location as to which workflow it needs to be used. We can tell the system if it's location 1, send it to the trucks workflow. If it's location 2, send it to the medical workflow. And I'll do that now. Now, the setting is in the background. So if this is something that you would like to do, just be a simple case of logging a support call and asking the support desk to activate the Selectors functionality for you. But once that's done, what you will find is if we go to configuration workflows, you'll find that your workflow screen initially has changed slightly. We've now got a drop down at the top and we're able to choose orders workflow, and there's our orders workflows that we were seeing. So what we can do is we can now come in and we can build a configure criteria section. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into my medical workflow and I'm going to tell the system if the location on the line, because we're recording location at a line level, so if location on the line is equal to location 1, then it's going to run my medical workflow. Just save that down. I'm sure I said it the other way around originally, but you get the gist. And then on the trucks, we're going to say if the location from a line level is equal to location 2, save that one. So I've got criteria for the medical and the trucks. Obviously, what I can then do is I can go through and build in the same. So let's say this one's going to be location 3, and then the last one was location 4. Now, once I've got all the criteria in there, this is obviously me telling the system which workflow to run under which circumstances. What we will find though is, even though I have done this, if I go back to the create a requisition screen, I'll just call up an existing one again, we'll find that we still have all of our options sitting in there. So what we can do is, again, through the configuration side, on the orders, we can come in and we can hide them for selection, because we want the system to decide for ourselves. So what I'm doing here is an optional thing. You can leave it so that they are visible. They can be manually overridden, or if we hide them like we have, then what we'll find is the user, when they now go to submit the requisition, they no longer have the ability to choose. The system's going to decide for us in the background. I've only got a submit button. So this would work if we still were showing all of the workflows. We would be giving the user to click submit, the system will decide for us, or the user can manually override, but it would have to be that the order meets the criteria of that particular workflow, or, as I've done, mark everything as hidden, and then the system is making the decision for us. One key thing with the selectors that I need to point out is you'll notice we've got these 3 lines here, and my cursor is changing to directional arrows because we can drag these around. Now, the reason that this is happening, or is available rather, is because this basically the system will run in order. So it will start at the first workflow, look at the selector. Do I meet the criteria? No, fine, I'll move on. Do I meet the criteria? Yes, I will run this particular workflow. So when you're building these, you need to make sure you're putting them in the correct order. All of the very specific scenarios under which a workflow would fire, make sure those are at the top so that they will be considered first, and then the very kind of broader if it's an order. So if you wanted it so that if it was a specific project code and a specific department code and a specific account code and a specific date range, you'd probably want that at the top. Whereas if there was a workflow that just said, if it's an order, you would want that one at the very bottom, so that you're getting your specific ones caught first. It'll only run the one workflow per transaction, but obviously we need to make sure that it's getting the correct one. But as I said, those are the selectors. We had a longer session on it previously, so do feel free to go and review the recording for that one, and obviously any questions, do let us know. So hopefully that has given some food for thought on how to help the users when entering a requisition. Obviously, everything still stands with how to process a rec, pop in all the information, address any of the red bar areas up at the top should any errors occur. So if I was missing data, for example, and tried to submit it, if it was mandatory information, I think if I got rid of my account code, for example, if it will let me, and then save that, we'd get a, it's not going to play ball, it's going to preset it for, oh, there we are. It's given me my enter information. So as long as we haven't got the red exclamation mark, sometimes a red bar up at the top, everything's fine, submitted to the workflow, and it will go off on its merry way. So that's quick run through of the demonstration. So just before we jump into any questions, I just wanted to quickly mention the Compleat ecosystem again. So it's our built-in supplier network that connects businesses with trusted providers across a huge range of industries. Whether you're looking for office supplies, financial solutions, or specialized services, the ecosystem makes it seamless to find, connect with, and buy from the best suppliers without all the usual hassle. And what you see here is a small snapshot of the many suppliers we have on our platform, and obviously there's Pegasus, who are kindly sponsoring this session. So, excuse me, what I'd like to do is just open up the floor for any questions that we have. I'll just go to the Q&A. Doesn't look like we've got many come through, which is fine. Obviously, if you've got any questions at the moment, pop them in the Q&A box. If you can't think of anything, then absolutely fine. If you do think of anything later, then by all means do drop a message into support or customer success. They'll be happy to help. Some of the questions, excuse me, that I often get asked is if we are able to restrict access to particular layouts. So we were talking about different layouts of different purchase types. Sometimes get asked, are we able to restrict which layouts are available to which users, and answer yes. All you need to do is, when we're going through the security group side of things, I just bring up my my demo. So when we're going through the security group side of things, we would very simply just not include that user in any of the security groups, and that would stop them from being able to access the specific layout. Other questions is if we're able to copy layouts to help create a new one quickly, and answer yes. We just go to actions and we've got a duplicate function here. Sometimes get asked around how to make a field on the requisition mandatory, and that'll be done here through the field configuration. So where we were looking down here for our notes and ability to enter manual delivery address, etc. Here is where we have the toggle where we can make it mandatory or not. Just simply toggling the switch will make the fields mandatory. Excellent. So thank you ever so much for attending. Obviously, regular or usual contact details apply. So if you do have any questions at all, obviously there's a support desk, or there's success@compleatsoftware.com. Thank you ever so much for listening and joining the session today, and I look forward to seeing you on the next one. Take care, everyone. Thanks. Bye.